What is up, awesome people? I hope you're doing well and I hope you're having a great week so far. Welcome back to my channel, and for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Joshua Partogi. I'm a professional Scrum trainer through Scrum.org based in Brisbane, Australia. Welcome on board to the community of passionate changemakers. So today I would like to share with you how to use Scrum with more than 10 team members developing one product. Before you watch today's video, folks, make sure you have already watched the video I've made on Scrum fundamentals. Now, if you haven't already watched that video, click the link up here to watch that video first. Today's video is the extension of that video, and I will not repeat the fundamentals that have already been mentioned in that video, because the topic of scaling Scrum is quite big, which makes today's video relatively longer than my usual videos. I have placed chapter markers so that you can navigate or come back to the topics presented in this video easily. Just hover the video player to see the chapter markers on this video. Alright folks, as usual, don't go anywhere because I'll be back right after this one. There are quite a few companies who skip the Scrum fundamentals when scaling Scrum. My suggestion to you is, nail Scrum in a single Scrum team first before scaling Scrum. Before you scale Scrum, make sure your Scrum team is consistent and disciplined with technical excellence. When you scale Scrum, the definition of done needs to be more strict, otherwise there will be lots of defects related to integration. Before scaling the number of team members, scale people's capability first. Scale vertically before scaling horizontally. Invest more money to leverage people's capability in automating the testing and the deployments process. When you scale Scrum, the Scrum team should be empowered to self-manage even more. Before you scale Scrum, remove any bureaucracies and politics that are impeding the Scrum team to thrive. When you scale Scrum, there should be more effective communication between the Scrum teams, not less. And please, don't misinterpret more effective communication with more documentation. Scale Scrum on a solid foundation, otherwise your people will be firefighting a lot and you're not going to be sustainably agile in the future, but instead you're going to be fragile. Today I will share with you how to scale Scrum using the Nexus Framework. The first reason why I prefer Nexus over any other scaled Scrum framework out there is because just like Scrum, it's simple. You don't want a scaled Scrum framework that is overly complicated and will just overwhelm people. The second reason why I prefer Nexus over any other scaled Scrum framework out there is because Nexus extends Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. When using Scrum at scale, the fundamental principles of Scrum should still remain, otherwise people in the company will be confused. When people are overwhelmed and confused, most of their energy will be absorbed towards remembering the rules of the framework rather than on delivering awesome products. In this video, I will refer to the Scrum Guide and the Nexus Guide quite often, so you may want to open up these two guides on your devices right now. When using Nexus, the Scrum values and the principles of empiricism, lean thinking, self-management, and bottom-up collective intelligence still apply. In fact, it needs to be emphasized even more. The mindset that needs to be applied when using Nexus is still outcome over output. Check out my video on outcome over output by clicking the link up here if you haven't already watched that video. The goal of Nexus is not to complete more product backlog items, but to deliver more value. A Nexus is a group of approximately 3 to 9 Scrum teams that work together to develop a single product. Because a Nexus develops one product, in a Nexus there's still one product backlog for all of the Scrum teams with the product goal as its commitment, and also one product owner who is accountable for the value of the overall integrated product. A Nexus can have more than one Scrum Masters. The Scrum Masters in Nexus are not necessarily attached to a single Scrum team. You should inspect and adapt during the Nexus sprint retrospectives to discover how many Scrum Masters you actually need in your Nexus. Because in the Nexus, there's only one product owner with not more than 10 team members in each Scrum team, and there can be several Scrum Masters that are not attached to a single Scrum team, this is how multiple Scrum teams that we will refer throughout today's video look like. Besides a product owner, Scrum Masters, and developers, in Nexus there is an additional accountability called the Nexus Integration Team. Unlike the Scrum team, the Nexus Integration Team is not a dedicated permanent team. It's a virtual team consisting of the product owner, one developer from each Scrum team, and one of the Scrum Master in a Nexus. Membership in the Nexus integration team takes precedence over individual Scrum team membership. One of the Scrum Master in Nexus who has gravitas in the company and the developers who are proficient in integration and automation quite often are selected to be in the Nexus integration team. The accountability of the Nexus integration team is to ensure that an integrated and usable increment is produced at least once a sprint. Every Scrum team in Nexus is still the one responsible to integrate their increment with the increments delivered by the other Scrum teams. If one or more Scrum teams are not able to deliver a usable integrated increment consistently every single sprint, the Nexus integration team needs to coach and guide the Scrum teams to acquire, implement, and learn practices and tools that improve those teams' ability to produce a valuable, useful integrated increment every single sprint. The most common question I get regarding Nexus is, if there is only one product owner in Nexus, then who will detail all of the product backlog items for the developers? The product owner was never intended to be the business analyst or the secretary who details all of the product backlog items for the developers. Even though that's what we see happening a lot in the market. We can see in the market that many companies downgrade rather than leverage the product owners. When your product scales and more developers are added to develop the product, the same product owner should go up and the vacuum in the middle can be filled with roles like product managers if you wish. Just like when a company scales, the company owner goes up and we add more managers in the middle as the subordinate of the company owner. This is just common sense. We don't add a manager on top of the company owner or above the chief executive officer, right? As written on Scrum Guide, the product owner can delegate responsibilities, such as detailing the product backlog items, to others in the company. When the product owner delegates those responsibilities, the product owner still remains accountable for the value of the overall integrated product. Check out my video on the differences between product owner and product manager by clicking the link up here if you haven't already watched the video. Now let's see how the accountabilities, events, and artifacts in Nexus work together. In Nexus, there are additional events which have a purpose to tackle technical dependencies and enhance communication between the Scrum teams. All of the events in Nexus are also time-boxed. When there are Nexus members who are dispersed in multiple geographical locations, all members of Nexus should collaborate to define the timing in having the Nexus events. Just like Scrum, Nexus has a sprint. The Nexus sprint starts with the Nexus sprint planning. One of the developers from each Scrum team, one of the Scrum Master, and the product owner collaborate to define the Nexus sprint goal that is derived from the product goal and also define the Nexus sprint backlog that represents the work of the Nexus towards the Nexus sprint goal. The cross-team dependencies are also made transparent in this Nexus sprint backlog. The Nexus sprint backlog is an artifact in Nexus with Nexus sprint goal as its commitment. After the Nexus sprint goal and the Nexus sprint backlog has been defined, these representatives will bring the Nexus sprint goal and the Nexus sprint backlog to their Scrum team so their team can define the sprint goal that aligns with the Nexus sprint goal and the sprint backlog, which makes transparent what they will do in support of the Nexus sprint goal. This process can go back and forth during the Nexus sprint planning until all members of Nexus agree with the Nexus sprint goal and the Nexus sprint backlog, and until each Scrum team has defined their sprint goal and their sprint backlog that aligns with the Nexus sprint goal. Every day, each Scrum team will develop and deliver at least one integrated increment that will meet the Nexus sprint goal until the end of the sprint. Each Scrum team in Nexus will inspect and make a daily plan to achieve the Nexus sprint goal in the daily Scrum. If any of the Scrum team members discover that their team may be impeding the Nexus to deliver an integrated increment and to achieve the Nexus sprint goal, they should share this information during the daily Scrum. These impediments should then be shared by appropriate representatives in the Nexus daily Scrum. Only representatives from each Scrum team who attend the Nexus Daily Scrum. These representatives also inspect the progress and make plans towards achieving the Nexus sprint goal. The Scrum team should self-manage in selecting the appropriate representatives for the Nexus Daily Scrum. At any point in time throughout the sprint, whenever any Scrum teams found the upcoming product backlog items need to be further decomposed so that dependencies are transparent, identified across teams and removed or minimized, they should self-manage to hold a cross-team refinement. The cross-team refinement also helps the Scrum teams forecast which of the Scrum team in the Nexus will deliver which product backlog items in the upcoming sprint. The Scrum team should self-manage when deciding how often, how long, and who will attend the cross-team refinement. The increment from each Scrum team should be integrated and usable at any point in time during the Nexus sprint. The integrated increment is an artifact in Nexus with the definition of done as its commitment. The definition of done in Nexus defines the state of the integrated work when it meets the quality and measures required for the product. Individual Scrum teams can extend the Nexus definition of done, but it should not have less rigorous criteria, otherwise the quality of the whole integrated increment will be flaky. The integrated increment is one of the inputs for the Nexus sprint review. All members of Nexus and everyone who has interest and has a stake in the product should join the Nexus sprint review to review the remaining budget and the remaining product backlog items, to give feedback about the integrated increment, and to inspect the progress towards achieving the product goal. As the integrated increment that is delivered by a Nexus is relatively big, it may not be possible to show all of the completed product backlog items in detail during the Nexus sprint review. Trust from the stakeholders and also professionalism from the Scrum teams is expected. During Nexus sprint review, all participants should collaborate on defining what else should be done in the future to achieve the product goal, removing product backlog items that are no longer relevant with the product goal, and identifying whether additional budget is needed to achieve the product goal. After the Nexus sprint review, all members in Nexus will attend the Nexus sprint retrospectives. The purpose of the Nexus sprint retrospectives is to plan ways to improve the integrated increment's quality and the whole Nexus effectiveness. All of the Scrum Masters in Nexus should collaborate to make the Nexus sprint retrospectives effective. The product owner should be available throughout the entire Nexus sprint retrospectives to give feedback and to answer any concerns from any members in Nexus. Some Scrum teams in Nexus may hold one or more sprint retrospectives of their own before the Nexus sprint retrospectives. The improvements they discover during these sprint retrospectives will complement the improvements discovered by all members of Nexus during the Nexus sprint retrospectives. After the Nexus sprint retrospective ends, the next Nexus sprint planning starts. The Nexus sprint is the wrapper for all of the Nexus events and also where the development of usable integrated increment happens. The Nexus sprint starts with the Nexus sprint planning and it concludes with the Nexus sprint retrospectives. So that is the Nexus Framework, folks, a framework for using Scrum at scale. Nexus as described on the Nexus guide is simple, and as you can see, scaled Scrum with Nexus is still Scrum. To develop a complex product, we need something simple, not something that is overly complicated that will just overwhelm and confuse people. That is all from me today, folks. If you have any questions about the Nexus Framework, just leave a comment down below. And lastly, I would like to thank Simon Flossman, Ravi Verma, and Jesse Howing for their patience mentoring and teaching me the Nexus Framework. Now folks, if you're interested to learn more about how the Nexus Framework and its complementary practices can help you deliver more value at scale, I suggest that you attend the Scaled Professional Scrum or SPS training offered by Scrum.org. And as usual, don't forget to do those things that you must do after watching videos on YouTube. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, click the like button down below, and also watch other videos on this channel by clicking the thumbnails here and also down there. See you until my next video, folks. Until then, stay Nexus and don't forget to stay awesome. Yes, that is right. Nexus, not safe.